going to ask that everyone in the chambers, especially the ones that just entered, to please silence all except the most important of their devices.
I didn't hear him, but
And announce that this meeting is being streamed live to the Carroll Media Center's YouTube channel as well as the town's Facebook page. I will call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Good evening and welcome to the Town of Sykesville Mayor and Town Council meeting. Today is Monday, September 25th. Let us rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That moment of silence. Thank you, everybody.
I do.
First item is, as usual, public comments. Joe, do we have anyone who have signed up?
No one has signed up.
All right, I'll skip that little announcement about our 3-minute limit and move to the minutes. The minutes from August 14th, 2023 have been distributed and presumably all of us here have reviewed them. Any questions or concerns about the minutes? Do we have a motion to approve them?
Motion to approve. It's September 11th though, right?
Yes, why does it say August 14th on my page?
I don't know.
September 11th it is.
I don't know.
Do I have the right thing in front of me?
You do not.
I do not.
A motion to approve the minutes from September 11th, 2023.
Thank you, sir. That is, the motion is made by Councilmember Grassley.
Second.
Second by Council President Carter. All in favor of the approval of the minutes from September 11th, 2023, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. The minutes are approved. Next item is an item of new business, and our first of two. It is to consider, discuss, act on the linear trail repaving between Oklahoma Avenue and Norris Avenue contract award. Give a little bit of background. The town's capital improvement plan identifies 2 park improvements that are being funded through the program Open Space Grant, one of which is this particular agenda item. This award will be for the resurfacing replacement of an existing trail that runs from Norris Avenue down to Oklahoma Avenue. And that project Open Space Grant is in the sum of north of $138,000, almost $139,000 from program Open Space, with a goal of using these funds to make improvements to 2 components of our existing parks, specifically repair to the pedestrian bridges at Millard Cooper Park, and resurfacing and replacing a portion of the linear trail network that runs from Norris to Oklahoma, which we are discussing this evening. I'm going to turn it over to Joe regarding the RFP.
Thank you, Mayor. So again, it was advertised for, I want to say it was at least a couple weeks. We did get 3 contractors that bid on this project. You see the totals of their bid there. The lowest bid being White Pine Paving. White Pine was actually one of the contractors that helped us with the linear trail when we were replacing some of the exercise equipment there along the, let's just call it the larger linear trail. So again, we know their work. We're very comfortable with that contractor. So have no problem moving forward with them as the low bidder on this. I do want to point out that we are asking that the not to exceed amount be a little bit higher than what the bid was. One of the things that actually all of the contractors mentioned when we did our pre-bid meeting was that they had visited the site and they do expect there to be, let's just call it more replacement that has to happen. So they're not just going to be able to resurface most of the trail. They'll probably have to pull out much more. So with that in mind, since we bid it a certain way, but we know we're probably going to have to exceed what we expected when the bid first went out. So that's why we're asking the not to exceed amount to be $35,000.
So instead of looking at 400 linear feet for repaving and approximately 400 for new paving, or I should say overlay, and then another 100 is the rough estimate, which shouldn't change for the new trail section. We're looking at the 400 and 400 maybe swapping to a 6 and a 2.
Something like that.
Something to that effect. Okay. Any questions for staff?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
I know a couple years ago we had approved to have that either relay or repaired or something. There is a big root that goes down at the bottom of the trail.
Okay.
It's causing the run out and the washout.
Okay.
What are the plans for that. So in 3 years, we're not gonna come back and have to do this again.
So this is specifically where the washout had already happened. We are attempting to realign that trail either to the other side of that tree, because I know exactly where you're talking about, or if it does, that tree might have to come out. That's just the one that's actually causing some of the uproot of the old trail. So it's going to be one or the other. If they can figure out a way to reroute this new paved area around that tree to avoid that root system, then they'll do that. If they can't, then we might have to take that one tree down.
Okay, thank you.
And this bid would cover that either way.
Correct.
Two good questions. Anything else? Okay, so currently the staff is recommending that we approve the linear trail repaving project to White Pine Paving in the amount not to exceed $35,000 and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents to begin the project. Do we have, if with no further discussion, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. So Councilmember Schofield with the motion and
Thank you,
Councilmember
ma'am.
Grassley
Thank
with
you,
the second.
Councilman Grassley, I appreciate that. You know, what might happen next is we might get a pad in there. If it's possible.
Wow.
Would you let me do that one?
Yeah, sure.
It'll be $55,000.
Apparently, Councilman Schofield's been waiting a long time for this repair to the missing portion of his trail out front of his home.
My wife, anyway.
Yes,
So, yeah.
well, then Mrs. Schofield shall be
Yes.
very pleased if this passes. We have not yet voted. Is there any need for further debate or discussion regarding the motion that is now on the table?
Just make sure you tell her I second it.
Okay, so I guess
Yes,
that's a
sir.
no. So the motion is to approve the linear trail repaving project to White Pine Paving in the amount not to exceed $35,000 and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents to begin the projects. Projects, yes, singular, plural, I mean to say. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. That's everyone, so no one opposed, and the motion passes unanimously.
Could I just
Yes.
add one thing in reference to trails not associated with this? Have we heard anything new from, I'm forgetting his name, that's the Rails to Trails? Anything new that's come
Sam
up?
Cooper.
Sam?
Sam
Yeah.
Cooper, yeah. No, I haven't touched base with Sam recently. I've been thinking a lot about the project and touching base with him. I'll make sure that we do that.
Yep.
Yeah, he's actually been anxious to provide a
Like an update or something?
presentation to the council, actually, was the next thing he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I know that the last time we talked, that was something he was pretty much ready, but then also said he was recently was going to be moving into a new location, and
Okay,
then I think I let it fall off my radar.
okay.
No, thank you for bringing that up. We'll touch base with him.
If you need me to do anything, please let me know.
Okay, good deal. Thank you. All right, our next item of new business is to consider, discuss, act on the Michael Baker International Work Order Numero Dos, BF Shriver Cannery Reuse Master Plan and Construction Documents. The attached work order prepared by MBI, Michael Baker International, will allow the town to move forward on the established goal of creating a viable reuse plan for the BF Shriver Cannery building. I'm going to turn it over to Joe, and then I may or may not have anything to fill in. Go ahead, Joe.
So some of you may remember this is this work order right here is basically a reset of something that we entered into a contract. Oh, it's been 6-8 months ago or so with
DeVos.
the DeVos Institute from University of Maryland. Unfortunately, we could not come to an arrangement on that particular contract to actually execute it and move forward. So we kind of hit the reset button. Because we knew Michael Baker was going to be helping us with our zoning ordinance, and KCI has been very busy and diligent with some of our other capital projects, we asked Baker to put together a scope of work that would pick up where the DeVos Institute left off. The difference being that we did ask Baker to include the construction document phase of the cannery building. So it wasn't just a visioning exercise, it was actually going to move right into construction document preparation. So again, that's why this one is in, let's just say, a significant amount more than what the DeVos Institute originally came back with. That said, our capital plan, which is a number that's set aside in our assigned fund, it does include $300,000 over the next 2 fiscal years to cover this exact work, so that we didn't have $300 in current fiscal year budget. There is that amount that's been set aside for this work. Full disclosure, there's the capital grant that we did receive, which is what will end up reimbursing the town for any money that we do expend here. So we are obviously comfortable moving forward with the proposal that Michael Baker has submitted and recommend approval this evening.
Great, thank you, Joe. And just kind of piggybacking on that, before anybody has any comments about the difference in cost between what we were speaking of with the DeVos Institute, Joe's already touched on that, but kind of just breaking it down further for those that aren't looking at the documents or aren't at the table. As Joe mentioned, when we spoke with DeVos, it would have ended without architecture services and certainly without construction documents. That said, that the difference in cost then truly apples to apples when you're comparing services is not as far off as it appears here. And in my opinion, the services that are included in the MBI in this current proposal, I think have far more value. I say that because it appears that they're going to be more engaged, I think, in the whole stakeholder process. That not to say that our former proposal was not inclusive of that. This actually lays out, I think, a much more intense process with respect to engaging the public. And I feel like it's going to require less staff time for certain portions of this process than it would have with our prior agreement that we were considering. So I just want to throw that out there, and I think that was, yeah, for now, that's all I have. Do you guys have questions for staff?
Are you gonna go first? Or you want me to go first?
Go
I'll
ahead.
go first.
So,
Anna,
How about that?
Anna,
President
how about
Carter.
you go
I
first?
wasn't sure if she had any questions. I know Jeremiah did. So.
Didn't ask. Quick question.
Yes.
Once this gets approved, what is their start date?
Start date could be as quickly as the middle of October. I will admit that it will take some staff coordination with them just to make sure we get the ball rolling. So I'll say certainly before the holidays, maybe something
Okay.
like that. And I can't remember off the top of my head, I don't have the contract sitting in front of me, but I think the first phase of their document was around 6 or 8 months,
Yes.
and then rolling into construction documents, which would be a lot longer. That's around 16.
They said 16 to 18 months for that last part, yeah. Yeah, their deliverables are, I just feel like everything's just more clearly defined. And I'm more comfortable with it now that I see this as compared to, so it might be a blessing in disguise that they upset me. Go ahead, I'm sorry. Anything else?
No,
Thank you.
I'm forgetting when I read through it, does this include civil?
It does,
Yes.
Does it include bringing electricity or other
it does,
over? It does?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Utilities.
Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Design.
Yeah, design, not the actual labor
Not
to do
actually
those
bringing
things.
utilities there.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Design about how we would go about
yep.
the creative needs that we have there.
That's exactly right. And then, of course, then that's why the cost that's been estimated for the design documents
Yeah.
phase or that deliverable is truly flexible right now, because we really don't know what the use is going to be exactly. And so depending on how the build out will look, we'll obviously change that scope of,
That was the other part that I didn't remember. Thank you.
yeah, no problem. No
Okay.
problem.
Yeah.
And also one other thing, and then I'll turn to council, to everyone on my right. I know Councilman Grassley's chomping at the bit. Just teasing you. You know I love that. I love teasing. I just wanted to also mention that it's something that's in our staff report, but we have this $2 million from the state and specifically for this project. And I think it's important that we show that we've made progress, even though we had a roadblock a few months back. So I'm happy that we are including the construction documents, even though it's more of a guess than an exact for now.
So that raises another question, maybe.
Yeah.
Is this enough progress? With it only being a 300,000 spent off of that 2 million?
I believe so,
Okay.
because I know from a numbers perspective, it's not even
Yeah.
a sixth, but it's or could be, but I think what goes into that money, the work that goes into that, the process that's required to get to that point,
Yeah.
the big money's going to be spent in construction, and this is really something that has to be most thoughtful. And is more meticulous and slow, so I think it'll be okay.
Well, and I can say this too, the state they like to kind of chop it up into phases, so it's
Yeah.
like, you have let's just call it the visioning phase, which is within the first 2 years of receiving the grant. Then you have your design and, I guess the civil phase, which would be the 2 years after that, and then the actual construction, 3 years after that. So it's like, as long as you have all of those funds expended within a 7-year time frame, is kind of what they're looking for.
And we do not expect it to take that long.
Yeah.
I won't accept that. So just because the state's okay with that,
The
Joe.
mayor said that, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, first person on my right is Council Member Guroff.
So I do like the detail. It feels much more thorough than what we had seen from DeVos. The only question I had that stood out to me was actually in their exclusions around LED and like lead building and stuff, and just kind of our focus on environmental.
Well, it's just, I think they didn't include that. If that's one of the goals of the building, it can be added in later.
Okay.
It wasn't part of this proposal, but again, as we go through that visioning exercise, if that's a goal of this building, once it's designed, then they can add that back into the.
Okay. And because I would just be curious what the cost difference is
Yeah.
in terms of design and build, and I know that that's something, you know, we've been looking towards and speaking more of environmentally sound. So I was just
Yeah, and
surprised to see that excluded. That's all.
and that's why, because it's more of it's an upgrade for I think it's as much of a focus it is for us for the building to be as green and sustainably, you know. Michael Baker is really known for their sustainable approaches and environmental. Yeah, so they'll be keen on it. I think it's just a matter of we're not going to put that in the cost estimate until they're sure it's something that we want to do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good question. Good catch. Councilman Grassley.
So, Joe, no thought of getting a couple estimates on this? I mean, I know Michael Baker's worked with us before, right? And they've done great work. We're happy with it. Think it's fair price.
I mean, I do. I'm not so sure it would change significantly from one engineering firm to another. I think the familiarity we have with Baker gives us a little more comfort working with them, and their familiarity with Sykesville is obviously good too. So again, it just kind of gives them a leg up on anybody else that would come in from the outside. I think the only other option, at least in my eyes, would have been KCI. They're kind of our on-call engineer.
They're too busy
right
for
now,
us
but
right
we
now.
we do have them pushing on several other projects. So this isn't a knock on KCI at all. It's simply, you know, they've got enough.
Got it. And I noticed looking through the contract, there's a lot of, you know, maximum numbers, but there's no minimum of town meetings and stuff like that, or can we set like a minimum? I'm sure they're gonna do a minimum, but the contract's written right now, there's no minimum on any of that stuff, there's just a maximum.
I mean, if there was a specific one, we can just make sure that's added to the.
I mean, I don't know what, I know one was 7, I was thinking maybe 2 or 3, maybe 2, just put down.
Like actually council meetings for them to attend and give an update? Or are
I
you
thought it
just
was,
talking
So they touch on a couple different maximums, but I don't know which one you're most concerned about. One of them is the number of times they'll come and present to us.
I don't think that's,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe twice.
Yeah, and I think
Is it this one, number 2 stakeholder?
no,
Yeah,
that
it
one
is.
here. That might be the one he's talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The town residents.
The maximum of 10 key person interviews held virtually, maximum of 3 in-person focus.
Yeah, there's just maximum on there. I think, do we need to say a minimum? I don't know.
Well, the way I kind of feel, we can, but the way it's written is it's like, because there is none stated, they're just basically saying you can't have more than 10 from us. But like, I have a feeling they're willing to do 10.
Because say we only identified 9.
Yeah, right.
Oh, so we're gonna be identifying those people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I have a list already.
All right.
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
Do you know how many are on that list? Because we can just make that the minimum.
Yeah. Well, you mean for you mean the 3 one-on-one interviews or the 10 stakeholder?
Because it's 10 overall stakeholder meetings, right?
Yes. But
10 key person,
10 key person.
3 in-person focus groups.
Yeah.
And
That's the one thing that there's no minimum
And
on
then-
the focus groups.
2 design workshops,
I wouldn't want a minimum on that one.
6 maximum of 6
There's no
client
minimum, they
work
don't have to do it.
session meetings.
That's your point, right?
what was the last
If
6
there's
on
no
what?
minimum, they don't have to do
They
it.
don't have to do it.
Session, maximum
I was
of
thinking at least-
work, of client work sessions.
I was thinking 1. At least 1 focus group.
So guarantee, you're asking for a guarantee of a minimum.
Or
versus
just
just
say,
a, like-
you'll do 10. or 3, or whatever.
Give it, right, either a number or a range.
And I don't know what that number is. I mean, I know we got a maximum because of monetary issues, but I think we should say, hey, we want at least one of these.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact
All
that
of
it's
their
in
maximums,
there.
I'll just reduce them by 1 and say that's the minimum.
Well,
Yeah, I think
I
it
can just do that.
I mean,
would. Because with the focus group, you would wanna have as many
But-
as that they're willing to give us, because you don't wanna just have one, and they're like, oh, I had my one, that was my
Yeah, but I think
minimum.
he's saying,
the contract specifies a maximum. It doesn't say they even have to have it.
so they could
But
say, we didn't do any because we didn't feel like it needs to, but we never hit our maximum. So they're gonna stop at 6, but they could stop at 0.
Right, but they can't stop at 0 because it's actually in there. They wrote it. Like, we didn't say to them,
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like, this is their proposal. We didn't say include these 10 types of meetings in the proposal and you pick the maximum. It was like, create your proposal, and their proposal includes all of these stakeholder meetings
Okay.
and one-on-ones. And so I think in our very first meeting with them, you can talk to them ahead of time. Obviously, you will.
I'm happy to tweak
Yeah.
it, make sure that there's some.
Well, if I didn't realize it was their proposal, I thought we wrote it.
Yeah, and the first
Like-
deliverable was like that first meeting
Yeah.
with us, with staff, and with myself.
I will point Troy to this meeting and make
Yeah.
him watch it.
Yeah,
Well,
tell him it's 7. He should start watching at 7:15. Yeah,
so I was under the impression that we kind of wrote the contract for them to sign.
yeah.
Yeah, we usually give them, kind of what we're looking for, and
Right.
then they build the program out based on
Okay.
it.
So that's their kind. So if they didn't want to have any, they wouldn't even mention it.
Exactly,
That's
that's
what
what
you're
I
saying.
was-
I got it.
yeah.
Totally understand. Okay.
Cool. Okay. So any more questions for staff?
So not a question, but a thought.
Okay.
We've had some issues with that building from a graffiti vandalism
Yeah.
sort of perspective. Any thoughts about, I don't know what the right thing is to do. Put a fence around it, put up a sign that says, be a part of our community and help us save this building. Something along those lines so that people don't keep doing things to destroy it.
Yeah, it's that one in the stone house next to it that
Right.
is really getting the brunt of the.
So I don't know if there's
Right,
something that we could do to help, like maybe, they'll probably just be like, yeah, I'm gonna spray this sign now. I don't know, right? But
I'd
it's,
rather that. No, it's
Well,
something.
if you're gonna tag
But it's
me here.
Unless
I mean,
it's
it's
for
a good-
construction,
I mean, it's a good outreach effort, once we start this, just so people know about it, people that are visiting the park. If there was a
Right.
sign up there that just said, hey, if you're interested in knowing the future of this building, here's the QR code to scan,
Right.
and it'll take you to, the project website or something like that. But
Yeah, that way,
There was a survey that is gonna be, submitted as well. It'll take you right to the survey, and you can give feedback on what you think the building should be.
so as a dad, and if my kid was the one doing that, it would definitely make me have a conversation if I knew there was a future to this dilapidated structure.
That, and if a person goes to tag the building, if there's a sign like that, sometimes because things
Right.
are under construction, there's cameras and,
Right.
and it's being watched now. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea for many reasons.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you. So that brings us to, if we don't have any more conversation with staff, does anybody have a motion? You have their staff report there, or do you want?
A motion to approve Michael Baker International Work Order Number 2 BF Shrivery Cannery Reuse Master Plan is presented and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents to begin the project.
Great.
I second that.
All right, so the motion is made by Councilman Grassley and seconded by Council President Carter. And that motion was just read, so I don't have to reread it. Does anyone have any further need for debate? Okay, so now's where I read it again. The motion is, I'm sorry, listen, I'm sticking to the rules. This is what's up. I'm a process-oriented gal.
I read it right off of there.
I know you did. This is Robert's Rules of Order, sir. All in favor of the motion to approve Michael Baker International Work Order Number 2, BF Shriver Cannery Reuse Master Plan, as presented, and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents to begin the project. Please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you. Brings us to our announcements and reports, and I'll begin with this one. The next meeting is Tuesday, October 10, 2023. We have volunteer opportunities available on the Historic District Commission, Parks and Recreation Commission, and Police Auxiliary. If interested, please email town@sykesville.net for more info. Staff updates. We shall begin with Craig, our treasurer, and his report for us.
So, he's got a ride, so don't feel like, I'll be sticking to the end.
Oh, okay, all right.
Don't
I
feel
wasn't,
Like rushing, don't
I
rush.
wasn't even rushing, I completely forgot.
Good.
I did.
Nice. Don't forget about what else I texted. you.
Okay, I know, I won't.
All right.
I won't. It's actually, you know why I won't? Because it's right here.
Okay, good.
Sorry,
Go,
Treasurer
Craig.
Craig.
Let me get this over with. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you. Welcome to you.
It's another dreary night here, three in a row here. At this time, I'd like to present the August Treasury Report. Just to give a quick synopsis of stuff going on. The audit is still ongoing at this time, although significant progress has been made, so we're in really good shape. It's been projected at the October 23rd MTC meeting that the presentation will be done for the audit.
Great.
And we'll see. It's gonna be probably up to me, and I'm gonna want it
That'll be the earliest.
early as possible, and I may or may not hold that back.
You know, I learned a long time ago to underpromise and overproduce, so maybe you want to change that right now.
I got a set of goals, so
All right.
it's gonna be my,
Okay, that's the goal.
so. Anyway,
That's now all of our goals.
Just so you know.
now it's been said,
Yep.
it's been written, I got it. With that said, although the revenues expenditure report is not usually materially affected by the previous year audit, the fund balance report can be affected by the audit, certainly in flux at this moment. So don't totally take that, as etched in stone yet. Too quick, we may or may not have covered this, and most of you may understand when you look at the very bottom of the equity, the retained earnings at this time, because I haven't made all the entries, that reflects last year's revenue over expenditure. And whereas the net income is this fiscal year's revenue over expenditure, just to let you know. Usually that's combined, usually you don't see a retained earnings number, but that's what happens when you change over fiscal years. Still, it'll have to be there until the entries are made to flush that out. So just to let you know that,
Thank
to
you.
know if you guys are all aware of that or not. With that said, going into the report itself, the revenue has been fairly quiet so far. Obviously, usually at the start of the year, it doesn't really jump out at you. I think the one pocket, the property tax is what you saw was 447, but then we've received another 147,000. So September's report will look a little better in that regards. Most of those other, like the state income tax and highway user tax, it takes a little while to get going. So no fear, it'll pick up pace. But we could have a deficit running in the next couple of months. We could, just to let you know. So in terms of expenses, I noticed 2 months have gone in, and probably some of the expenses are tracking a little faster than what you would hope to see. And I think a lot of it is not self-explanatory. I could explain it. So I'll just zoom through my list here real quick. I won't bog us down with everything. So in the admin side, their telephone, that's gotten a little high already. Most of that money was spent on new phones that we've acquired, new digital phones. It's so exciting.
We're losing support capabilities on our old leased phones, and we've purchased new ones to replace those.
Do we have a vendor that will help with issues, or are you guys on your own?
No, there's a vendor that helps us.
Okay.
We're switching vendors, which is a good thing. Some of the other expenses that we've been looking at, sorry, Chief, if it seems like I'm picking on PD.
I knew it was coming.
They're all explanatory. Other OT, yeah, I think, it's been driving up, but obviously with Sergeant Kurtner out on sick leave, that's definitely a reason why overtime has to be kind of pick up the slack. Building maintenance, same kind of thing in the sense that just some one-offs. We've got a new intercom system and generator repair that we weren't expecting, so the building maintenance is running high right now. Hopefully that'll kind of curtail. Vehicle maintenance, go figure, with the Chevy Tahoe transmission, as we're aware of, and the Ford Taurus fuel pump. Computer software, just a lot of upfront annual subscriptions that we usually, spend right away at the beginning of the year. That just obviously scares you, but that should be it for the computer software expenses. Operating expenses got a little high, did some taser cartridges purchasing that we weren't expecting. Training and education, obviously with the new cadet Anthony Brown going into the police academy, some expenses there that we weren't quite expecting. Community outreach, we had the National Night Out cost, but that could be covered by a grant anyway. So although you'll see that overrun the budget, we got it covered. And then in the South Branch Park area, the property maintenance, we did some tree removal work, and then as well as the roof and gutter work that you may or may not have been aware that we did some extra monies that makes it run an already high 7 versus the 10.
Just to clarify, the tree fell on the building. We didn't cut the tree down and it fell on the building. It just fell, and then we had to go clean it up.
So it seemed like a wise thing to do, fix it.
Yes.
And then the last actually is not anything, but I made an error with the health insurance line 610-7810 that I coded an October bill inadvertently in August already, which is obviously way ahead of schedule. So my bad, I didn't have a chance to fix it before the report went out. So you will see that number stay the same now when we go through September, and it'll look a little bit more favorable than it does right now.
Okay.
So we'll have to just let that know. That would have been another 36 plus that 87 on the net income side. So it cooked up a little bit, but we'll see what happens next month. In terms of the,
Is that more of a surplus or
that would be more of a surplus.
checking?
And that's not the same as a deficit.
It's not the same.
Not
It's,
the same.
it's
I feel
revenue
like there was a
exceeding
previous
expenditure.
conversation that everybody keeps referring back to, like with their eyes this evening. I don't know what's happening. That's less of a deficit or more of a surplus. I'm not sure which
Thank you.
one that would be called.
Appreciate
but
that.
you're
It seems
welcome.
easier to say that than constantly have to say revenues over expenditures or
Yes.
expenditures over revenues.
Yes.
It's simple, deficit,
Thank
surplus. In terms of check register, really nothing out of the ordinary unless you guys felt like you need further explanation on any of those items that you saw in the report. Other than that, that completes my presentation for this
Thank
evening.
you, Craig. Any questions for the treasurer?
Questions?
Wow.
No, but thank you for the explanations. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Chief,
ma'am.
please come to the microphone for us.
For some reason, I just feel like I've been run over by a bus and then had it back over me several times.
Oh,
giving
because
Craig a
of
hard
the-
time.
Would that be a surplus of times you've been run?
Surplus of a bus or a version.
I'm just kidding. Now you have a job.
Gotta do my job.
Yes, sir, I understand. All right, so we're going to talk about a very brief public safety report covering September 5th through the 17th, 12 days. Before I started that, I did want to discuss, one of the council members had a question about one particular case. It was 23 SPD 00213. It was an evading and theft case. I don't know if you saw that. What this was basically, the sheriff's office put out a lookout for a vehicle that was involved in a theft from Martin's. And 2 of our officers were out doing their jobs and looking for the vehicle. And Officer Picardo observed the vehicle coming right down 32 and got behind it and attempted to stop it. Corporal Schlereth got involved as well. And the vehicle committed several traffic violations, blew through the red light, continued on into Howard County, and wisely the officers decided to terminate the pursuit. So that's why there's all those traffic violations are the ones that were committed by the suspects in the vehicle that were fleeing from committing a theft at Martin's.
So did they ever apprehend it?
Not to my knowledge.
Not that I'm aware of.
We had a tag
At least on
number.
that day.
There was a tag number and a description of two occupants. And,
Evidently tagged along with a different vehicle.
as usual, yeah. So
Now, do these violations get mailed to the vehicle owner?
no.
Not that common.
You have to be able to identify the operator and witness it and that sort of thing. So, again, it was good judgment on their part to discontinue the chase, particularly into another county, for what amounted to probably a misdemeanor theft.
That was actually found.
Wasn't it felony? It was a felony theft, but our policy states it has to be a violent felony in order for us to continue a pursuit. So,
If they are identified, they will make sure they get charged.
right.
Got it.
Yeah, good discretion on their part. And so that was that.
Thank you, Chief.
Of course, of course. Again, back to the PSR, it was a total of 334 events. Again, a very, very brief report just because of the 12-day period. Just some highlights: 8 assist other agency, 8 community policing. Foot patrols are down somewhat as the weather continues to get colder. They will probably continue to go down. Patrol checks, 158, and 13 traffic enforcement initiatives. We also had only 8 incident reports during that time frame, which I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have. Yes, ma'am.
So can you just explain September 8th at 1:30?
September,
What's the number on the left?
Call number
Yeah.
2023CF S8216.
oh, this is a call for service. Is that what you're saying?
This is
Give me,
Oh, yeah, it's not on the,
page 15.
okay, can you give me the call number again, please?
2023 CFS 8216. Happened at your building. A gentleman came in.
Oh, this is community policing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. 8216. Yeah, I wasn't here that day. It was kind of struck me as a little odd, but apparently there's this organization called the Modern Woodmen.
who knew?
I guess it's kind of like a fraternal organization of some sort that came in to wanted to recognize our police work, provided us with a nice kind of like a certificate, somewhat framed certificate, and also said they'd be more than happy to donate money to like a charity of our choice. So we've actually had Corporal Slayer follow up with them, and we're going to ask them if they still want to make that donation to donate to the Polar Plunge, which we're going to be involved in this year.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
I Googled them and all I could find was insurance agency, like a
I had never heard of it
insurance
before,
group
yeah.
called the,
Modern
whatever it is,
Woodman.
Modern Woodman, yeah.
Yeah. New one on me,
I
but
mean, it says agent, district agent.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I believe it's an insurance company
Interesting.
for
Yeah.
large organizations.
Well, congratulations.
well, I guess so. Thank you.
I mean, I didn't know if there was like an event or something that triggered it, or if there was any more information on.
No, I'm
Someone
sure it's
walking
kind
in
of
with a
part of
plaque
their
to recognize?
campaign to get out and get their organization's name out, get to know us. And a lot of these organizations support, police and fire and
Yep.
public service agencies, so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
But we'll take $100 for the Polar Plunge.
Absolutely, absolutely. Any other questions about any of the other incidents?
I don't, I actually do. I have a comment and a question. It's about one of Officer Young's, I don't have the form up in front of me, but you'll be familiar with it. First, I wanted to say thank you to Officer Young for visiting the middle school. And I was wondering if she stopped in because it was provoked by a phone call from a parent, or if she was truly just doing a community.
That was actually the first day of school.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had extra personnel out there, we had auxiliary, and
Okay.
she just made it a point to stop in and.
Well, I really, really, really freaking appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And I was wondering, she had mentioned in her report that there's a new SRO there for the year. Is this a certified officer from an agency that's like a?
Carroll County Sheriff's Office.
It is, okay, cool. But it's new, it's not the same one as 2 years
Correct, it's a
ago.
different officer, yeah,
Okay.
they've moved some people around, so,
Okay.
yeah.
And will that person be there daily?
I think they actually have an office there now, I think is what she said, yeah, so
Oh,
they,
wow.
but I don't believe, I think that officer still has several schools under his
Okay,
domain,
Okay.
if you will, so it's
Okay.
not just solely at Sykesville Middle School.
okay, because that was gonna be my next question, like what are the SRO's assigned hours? If you could find a little bit more of that information out for us, I
So they
think.
generally work, school hours, Monday through Friday.
Okay.
And I believe he's got three
Yeah.
schools in the area, so he floats. Like,
Okay,
we get the emails from Emergency Operations Center about when calls come in.
Yep.
And I was seeing 1 o'clock, school resource assignment at Sykesville Middle, so
okay.
that's probably him punching in to go to the school to.
Okay.
make his presence.
And probably one of the 3 slots every day,
Right.
doesn't necessarily gonna be a 1 o'clock start for him every
Correct,
day.
but
at
I'm sure
summer.
he hits all the schools.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
part of his
Okay,
Sure.
I wanna be able to share this, I've had a lot of phone calls from parents in the, at the end of the school year last year, and they started up already this beginning of this school year, regarding Sykesville Middle. And, I'll be happy to share that with them.
Sure.
And, I might defer them to, to the principal or to you if you don't mind, as far as if they have questions about the SRO.
That would probably the sheriff's department, because we,
Okay, got it.
I mean, I'm more than happy to talk to anybody.
Yeah, sure.
Ultimately, that's what I would do.
Very good. Well, I'm glad to hear it's county sheriff's office, so, okay, thank you.
Of course. One last thing I just wanted to mention, junior CSI went very well. I don't know if you saw the very nice write-up that Julie had done for us. We appreciate it. We had about 30 students. Managed to have the helicopter and a canine dog and a drone, and everybody seemed to enjoy it. We had good support from our auxiliary and from some of our staff. So, good event, 14th annual, and
Awesome.
It's awesome.
looking forward to the 15th.
I spoke to one of your attendees and you all got high marks.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Glad to hear that.
yes, she's hard to please, so,
Oh, good.
yep.
Excellent, excellent. Glad to hear that. And Greg had mentioned our newest recruit, Anthony Bond, who's in the police academy. I did have a chance to just catch up with him briefly today. He survived, the first week, which is remarkable considering they lost 4 in the first week from other departments. So he's doing well, and so we expect him to continue doing well and get himself graduated and get out here and help us out, because we're going to need him.
He came from auxiliary, correct?
He did.
Yeah. So you guys kind of prepped him and helped him along?
We did, in several different ways, yeah. So I think we provided him a good foundation to know what he's going through, especially Officer Young, who had gone through that same academy, was able to impart, some of what to expect. And so I think he'll be well prepared.
Maybe you can ask Sheriff DeWeese's trainers to be extra hard on him so that everything else will be easy.
The lieutenant had a shoe shining class, so.
And a haircutting plan.
Oh, every time I see him, get a haircut, boy.
Wowzers.
So how would the 4 people dropped out? Did they just call it quits, or did they
She
get?
never showed up, right?
2 didn't show, and 2 dropped out within the first day. They just decided it wasn't
This
for them.
isn't for them.
Yeah.
And after
That usually happens in just about every academy.
so the sponsor still had to pay for that seat?
I don't know how that works, but
Okay.
I would
Wasn't
imagine
us, so I don't care.
if they committed a spot and they're holding a spot for you and had to turn someone else down because there wasn't any spots available, I would think there'd be some
That's,
remuneration, right, Craig?
yeah. That's the word of the day. I'm going home with that one.
Actually, the word of the day is sponsor, but remuneration could be number 2.
Okay, I missed that memo.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you,
Any other
Chief.
questions? Thank you very much.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
So that brings us to Joe, our town manager. Do you have any?
Just a few to bring kind of everybody up to date on what's going on Main Street. So the bulk of the work is done. However, I'm sure most of you have noticed still at the south end, they're still working on that lining effort down there. So there was some I don't want to call them errors, but there were some mistakes made on the original lining that they're trying to repair now. And it's just a really slow process to get the old liner out and then to replace it. So fingers crossed, another couple weeks of.
Fingers crossed for sure that it is only a couple of weeks.
Right. I do know there are a couple other punch list items that the county that it needs from that contractor before they're fully off-site, but the lining effort is definitely going to be the most time-consuming one. That said, I was able to meet with the state highways contractor that's going to be doing some, I've been referring to it as minor stormwater work along Main Street. However, talking to them, it doesn't sound quite as minor as at least I had thought it was going to be. There's 4 locations along Main Street that they're going to be replacing the inlets. One is at Wilson Avenue, one is at Church Street, one is basically at the main intersection, and then one just south next to where Sykesville Station is. And basically they're replacing all of those inlets and some of the piping that goes in between each of those. So most of them will be completed with just lane closures. The one on Church Street, just because it is pretty narrow right there, they are going to have a road closure. All of the work in total, they expect to be completed within 30 days. So again, it's not 30 days at every single site. It's 30 days across the all 4 of them. So it's 3 days to a week at each site, and then they'll be out of here. However, if that's taking 30 days, they're not scheduled to start until November. State Highways isn't going to pave until that is completed, and then you're into December, which typically asphalt plants are closed. So they haven't told us specifically that they're not going to be paving this year, but
Count on them not paving.
I'm not chalking it up to seeing paving this calendar year at least.
Under promise, over produce.
Tell me about it. Along with that, some of the stormwater work, the way they were explaining to us, a lot of the storm drains that they're going to be messing with are very close to BG&E poles. So if you notice some of the bracing that had to happen along Springfield Avenue, you're also going to be seeing that along Main Street too. So there's going to be some, let's just call it barriers, to make it a little less walkable in downtown while they're doing this work. So again, hopefully, they stick to that 30-day construction timeline and they can get in and out of here. But again, I won't hold my breath until it's done.
Well, these are different contractors, so we don't know what to expect. We'll just hope for the best.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's Main Street. Springfield Avenue, again, the main water and sewer construction work is completed, so all the temporary lines are now decommissioned and everything's been turned over to the new stuff. Again, some punch list items for that contractor. The state is supposed to mobilize on that stormwater work in October, early October. Last update we got was that they are still planning on starting there at the south end, so basically at that main intersection where they have some significant work to do. That probably will require some lane closures over the course of several weeks. But then when they start moving north with the rest of it, it should move relatively quickly because again, stormwater doesn't require nearly as much depth and digging as water and sewer work did. So again, we'll hope that that moves a little faster. And then one thing, actually, two really, we had a phone call, it was a rather strange phone call last week regarding some birdhouses along the linear trail. This is really just a public announcement that if anybody's going to install any kind of equipment along any of the public trails, to please contact the town before you do so. So we actually had somebody contact us inquiring about several birdhouses that somebody had installed. Unbeknownst to us, the town didn't authorize any of that. Before we could actually even get back to this individual to tell them anything about those birdhouses, he took it upon himself to take them all down and deliver them to the townhouse. So again, he meant well. It was very, very interesting.
The installer or the person that called about
The person that called
took them down and brought them to
took
you?
them down and brought them here. The individual that they belonged to did stop by today. He was a good sport about it. He understood what the concern was, and he promised not to put them back up, or at least not without our blessing. So really just a public announcement that if anybody's interested in installing anything along any of the town properties, to please contact us and let us know before you do that, so that we can make sure they're installed properly and doesn't make somebody else mad and take them down. The other one was we did receive another complaint about the broken sidewalk there. I'm going to get the road wrong. Is it Jennifer and Calrama? Okay.
Yes.
That corner.
Yes.
We've been trying to work. We believe it was Verizon that actually did the damage. We've been trying to work with them to get it completed, but either we're not getting calls back or they're not on it. So there are a couple other sidewalk projects that the town's going to do here relatively soon. We just added that to the list and we hope to get that done.
We'll just send the bill to Verizon then.
You got
Perfect.
it. So before the weather turns, we'll make sure those sidewalks are completed.
Thank you,
It's
Joe.
to the point where there was grass that was growing in that spot.
It's just
So
not-
it's been broken
That's-
for that long.
That's a long time. Yeah, okay.
And that is all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone have anything from a council, commission liaison position?
HDC will be meeting Wednesday. I'll get to introduce myself to the thing. We have to the district commission. We have two things to act on and a discussion on draft guidelines.
Awesome.
Parks and Rec rained out this past weekend, park cleanup and music, but the park cleanup is rescheduled along with the work on Main Street for this Saturday. So anyone that wants to join us,
9 a.m.
Yes.
is it 9?
And it'll be where? Still at Cooper?
Yes.
I mean, still at
South
South Branch?
South Branch
South
Park.
Branch.
South Branch Park, and then the Keep Sykesville Beautiful Committee is going to be meeting another group right there at the Fountain Park.
Awesome.
So there'll be two groups going on at the same time.
A reminder that the skate skate park event,
Been
skate,
postponed,
yeah, has been postponed till next year, so more to come out about that as we get closer to it. And Ghostbusters in October.
Which version?
Yeah, what version?
Original.
Original.
It's the original.
The only one is the answer.
The proper
Yes.
version.
Proper version.
So, the 14th.
Awesome. Is that all for Parks and Rec?
That's all I got.
Thank you. And I had two head shakes over here. Okay, well, I have one thing. We're celebrating the anniversary of Joe's best decision he's ever made.
Ever.
Really?
Well, it might
The
not.
wedding
wife might
anniversary
have-
is in October, October 11th, I believe.
Well, so we marked the 4th anniversary of Joe's start date with the town of Sykesville on October 1st. I'm sure it's not the most absolute best decision he's ever made. I know his wife, so I know that that one was probably
Best decision
slightly
I've made in
better.
the last 4
Yeah.
years.
Oh, they're perfect. Okay. So anyway, congratulations, Joe.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Well, thank you.
All right.
And a happy birthday to your wife.
It is, today is Teresa's birthday.
So happy birthday to Teresa.
Yes, and but it's probably one of the best decisions Sykesville ever made. So I might as well just say that. I mean, it's.
Agreed.
I was gonna keep that to myself, but Joe gets a big head if you give him too many props
You
at
gotta,
one
you gotta
time.
keep knocking me down.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, anything else from anyone?
No.
How about a motion?
A motion to adjourn.
Councilman
Second.
Grassley, oh, and look who pulls the trigger fast. Councilman Schofield with the second, all in favor of adjournment? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed to that, chief?
No,
All
ma'am.
right, we are opposed at 7:50. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Was Mark here the whole
Yeah.
time?
He was here